Hey everybody, it's 9 o'clock and 9 o'clock is with me, Father Warner. We are in Thursday of the 6th week in Ordinary Time, and as you can see, I'm in the Archdiocesan Heritage Museum because as a run-up to Lent, we're also going to talk about some of our beautiful pieces that are linked to the season of Lent that are found here in the Archdiocesan Heritage Museum. But for today, our gospel text is taken from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verse 27 to 33. And I've entitled today's teaching, When the Heart Does Not Process What the Lips Proclaim. I'm going to go straight to the teaching. And I want to say straight away that some of us have a very twisted dependence on the opinions of others. Jesus was certainly not dependent on the views of others. They had already aired their views previously. If you read the Gospel of Mark, and we've done it, in chapter 3, they thought of him to be working for Beelzebul, who was the prince of demons. Then in chapter 4, they ask, who is this? In chapter 6, his own disciples think him to be a ghost. The Syrophoenician woman called him Lord. Some called him Master. Herod thought that he was John the Baptist raised again. The list of opinions was just endless. Now, when Jesus asks his disciples, who do people say that I am? He's not seeking an opinion poll. His intention was to clarify the misconceptions that they had of him. In the previous text, we know that Jesus was in Bethsaida. You will read this in Mark chapter 8, verse 22 to 26. Bethsaida was a town on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee. The Gospel of today finds Jesus in Caesarea Philippi. This was about 40 kilometers further north at the foot of Mount Hermon. It is here that Jesus popped the question, because what he really wanted to do was to deepen his relationship with the 12. Jesus had to ask them as individuals what they believed, who they thought that he was. Now, while the disciples echo popular opinion about who people think Jesus is, and that opinion ranges from one spectrum to the other, it is Peter who declares Jesus to be the Messiah, the Christos, the Anointed One. Ironically, in Mark's Gospel, Jesus does not applaud this bold and brave answer of Peter. Rather, they are all sternly ordered not to talk to anyone about it. Mark remembers this detail, as do we, when someone asks us to keep something a secret. That we do not do it is often another matter. But Mark remembers this stern order because for the Gospel of Mark, it is the centurion, a Gentile, who in Mark chapter 15, verse 39, will declare the Christ crucified to be truly the Son of God. But for now, Jesus has to clarify even what Peter has professed and proclaimed. Ironically, Peter's lips have proclaimed what his heart had not processed. We know this because in a few verses from now, Jesus will rebuke Peter. But for now, Jesus has to clarify what Messiah means. At the time of Jesus, the word Messiah was used very loosely for anyone seen as some sort of savior. As we do today when we speak in our lingo, we call people who help us, we say, oh, you are my Messiah. Jesus was no Harry Houdini, he was no King David. He came to be a suffering Christ who had come to be rejected and be killed, but would one day conquer death and rise again. This was the whole package, and Jesus proclaimed this mystery of the passion, death, and resurrection twice more in this very Gospel of Mark. Each time, sadly, with a growing lack of understanding on the part of the 12. In chapter 8, verse 31, we are told that Jesus taught them. He teaches them not to fall for popular opinion or be swayed by it, but to discern and learn at his feet. Let this be a warning, my dear friends, for us too. We are so often swayed by popular opinions of others, or worse, we are driven by the opinions of others. So I want to say this to you today. To thine own self be true. Now, it's interesting to see the dynamics that play out when people who hail you one moment disagree with you when you take a stand on an issue. Peter was Jesus' de facto prime minister, a man who was given the keys of the kingdom with power to bind and power to loose. We see this in the other synoptic gospels. We don't see this in the text of today. Yet this prime minister, St. Peter, saw his seat of power shaken the minute Jesus thought the true meaning of the word Messiah. Peter's heart sank as he saw his chair of authority take the shape of a cross of suffering. He instinctively rebukes Jesus and rebukes his own would-be suffering. That's a very strong word to use. He rebuked Jesus. That's a strong word when you say, I rebuke you. So let me break down that word for you in Greek. It translates as epitimao, or in slang, shut up. Yes, that's what we can end up saying to God when He unfolds His plan for us. We will tell Him, shut up. Now, while Peter showed some sensitivity in taking Jesus aside before rebuking him, Jesus did more than rap Peter on the knuckles in private. He publicly reprimands him with a similar, you shut up. Now, this text, when broken down, sounds like a very difficult conversation to read, or even worse, to hear, because in the English it's all tidied up as they rebuked one another. It's so nicely packaged. This is not the gentle Jesus, meek and mild, because sometimes He's not mild, but He is riled. Here is what Peter is told. Peter is told, you are setting your mind not on divine things, but you are setting your mind, Peter, on human things. You know, the ability to swing from a congratulation from the Lord to becoming an instrument of Satan can really take place in a flash. Peter goes from being the holder of the keys of the kingdom to being called Satan. Yep, our first Pope was told, get behind me, Satan. So keep your eyes, my dear friends, on Jesus and not on the opinions of others. That's the challenge of the spiritual life. I have behind me this beautiful painting that is done on a sheet of metal. It's an extremely rare painting that we happen to have in our possession. It was given to us by one of our seminarians, donated to the museum. I don't think he really realized what he gave us. When we finally showed it to our curator, Mr. Murthy, he was amazed at the beauty of this piece. In a few days from now, I'm going to begin talking to you about artifacts from the Archdiocesan Heritage Museum. Artifacts that will help you reflect on the season of Lent that we are going to enter in a few days from now. Today, I also want to wish two couples, both from my former parish in St. Jude's, Roger and Steffi, and Johnny and Sylvia, a very happy wedding anniversary. If I'm not mistaken, I think I also blessed the marriage of Roger and Steffi, but Johnny and Sylvia were particularly close to me. They have now since moved and relocated to Moncton in Canada. Happy anniversary to both of you, and to all of you watching. Our Archdiocesan Heritage Museum, I'd like to let you know, is open from Tuesday to Sunday from 9 to 5 o'clock, and you need to make a prior appointment with us. So I'll be putting up that information on a slide immediately after this teaching. You can come as a group, you can come as individuals. There is a negligible fee, but it's important that we charge you a fee because the information that our assistant director gives you while she takes you around the museum is worth it. I also have with me a book that's something that we did. It's called Picturing the Passion. Yeah? So Picturing the Passion, I'm holding it in front of my face. And it's a beautiful book that covers Christian art. I think almost 12 pieces of Christian art, paintings from across the world. And it gives you a beautiful depiction. There you go. It gives you a lovely depiction of each of the paintings, breaking it down and explaining each aspect of that painting. It's a beautiful gift that you can give to one another during the season of Lent. If you'd like to know how you could get a copy, we could even post it to you at a fee along with the fee of the book, which is just 100 rupees. It would be great if you buy this in bulk and then distribute it as a Lenten reflective book to your friends. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and also to subscribe to this channel. And to all of you who've contributed to our children's home in Goa, God bless you.